Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to express what matters most. Carl Jung. Maybe you've felt this before. The doorbell rings unexpectedly. Someone is standing there, hoping to come in, spend some time, maybe share a cup of coffee. But the moment you hear that sound, something shifts inside you. It's not excitement. It's not joy. It's a subtle tightening, an inner resistance, a quiet whisper that says, "Not right now." And here's the important part. It doesn't mean you dislike people. You're not angry at the world. You're not carrying bitterness or resentment. But if you're honest with yourself, the thought of visitors just doesn't feel appealing. You'd rather protect your quiet space, your daily rhythm, your energy kept safe and undisturbed. Does that sound familiar? If it does, take a deep breath. Because in this video, we're going to explore something most people rarely admit out loud. It's personal, often misunderstood, the very real discomfort of letting others into your private world. And no, you're not rude. You're not antisocial. According to Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, what you feel is not a flaw. It may actually reflect something much deeper within you. Today, I'll share 6 insights from Jung that explain why some people simply don't enjoy having visitors, and why that's not only natural, but can also be a sign of an important psychological process unfolding inside you. So stay until the end. Because if you've ever felt guilty for wanting to be alone, if you've ever thought something must be wrong with you, by the time we finish, you may realize this is more about growth than weakness. Let's begin with something essential. Carl Jung introduced 2 words into everyday language, introvert and extrovert. But here's the thing, he wasn't talking about shyness, or whether someone is quiet or outgoing. He was describing the natural flow of psychic energy. For the extrovert, energy moves outward. They recharge through contact, conversation, and stimulation from the outside world. For them, other people are like sunlight. They feel brighter and more alive when connected. The introvert, however, works almost in the opposite way. Their energy flows inward. They restore themselves through silence, reflection, and solitude. What nourishes them is not noise or activity, but calm and space. And this is why unexpected visits, long conversations, interruptions, or even too much small talk can feel overwhelming. It's not arrogance, it's not coldness, it's not even disinterest, it's necessity. For the introvert, energy is precious, and it must be protected to stay balanced. Think of it this way. For many introverts, home is more than just a place to eat and sleep. It's a sanctuary, a cocoon, a sacred space where energy resets and the psyche regains balance. And when someone steps into that space, even with the best intentions, they disturb threads you've been carefully holding together all day. Suddenly, you have to put on your social mask to play the role of the polite host. And that effort, especially within your private space, can feel profoundly draining. Jung described this hidden process with a concept he called the shadow. The shadow isn't negative, it's simply the unseen part of yourself. It holds everything you've hidden, everything you've repressed, everything you couldn't fully express. Old fears, buried memories, unresolved wounds, and forgotten traits all live there. So when someone enters your home, you're not just opening a door. You're also unconsciously letting them step into your most vulnerable inner space. That's why even a simple visit can trigger discomfort, irritation, or the strong desire for them to leave. It's not unkindness. It's your unconscious trying to protect your inner integrity. And here's the fascinating part. The shadow doesn't only hold what's dark or hidden. It also contains what's unclaimed, your quiet strengths, your hidden talents, your deeper truths that you may not have fully embraced yet. That's why when you crave solitude, when visitors feel overwhelming, your shadow may actually be sending a message. It's saying, you need silence, you need space, you need yourself. And listening to that voice is not weakness. It's courage, because it means you're willing to hear what your deeper self truly needs. Think about the relief you feel when you finally close the door at the end of a long day. You take off your shoes, you exhale. Suddenly, the world is quiet again. In that moment, you're not performing. You're not explaining. You're not entertaining. You're simply yourself. In Jungian psychology, the home is one of the most powerful symbols of the psyche. It's not just a building, it's a mirror of the soul. Every room reflects something within you. The bedroom reflects intimacy. The living room reflects your social mask. The kitchen reflects emotional nourishment. The basement symbolizes the unconscious. The attic represents higher thought. And the front door your boundary with the outside world. When someone crosses that front door, your unconscious senses it instantly. It's not just another person walking in. It's foreign energy, carrying their moods, their thoughts, their stories, their tensions. And if you're sensitive, introverted, or on the path of individuation, the deep journey of becoming your true self, it can feel overwhelming, even exhausting. For Jung, the house wasn't about building walls against the world. It was about reflecting your inner life. If your home feels peaceful, something inside you is aligned. If visits disturb that peace, shake the atmosphere, or break the silence, maybe it's your unconscious quietly whispering, "This soul is still under construction. I'm not ready to open every door." And that is perfectly okay. Protecting your home also means protecting yourself. In depth psychology, respecting your boundaries is not selfishness. It's a necessary step toward healing and wholeness. So the next time you feel guilty for not wanting company, remind yourself, you're not isolating. You're honoring the temple where your soul lives. We've all been there, smiling politely, pouring coffee, making small talk, pretending to be engaged while quietly thinking, when will this end? And while that may sound harsh, it isn't cruelty. It's simply your psyche asking for space to breathe, for silence, for the balance it needs to stay whole. And maybe that's the deeper truth Jung wanted us to see. Solitude is not a flaw. It's your soul speaking. And when you listen, you're not withdrawing from life. You're preparing to live it more fully. You feel ungrateful. You feel heartless. But don't worry, Carl. Jung can help us understand what's really happening inside. He called it the persona, the mask we wear to show ourselves to the world. It's the social role, the version of us that adapts to work, to family, to relationships, and even to unexpected visits. The persona isn't fake, but it is limited. It's not your whole being, just a fragment, usually the part most accepted by society. The real struggle begins when you feel forced to keep wearing that mask inside your own home, the one place where you should feel free to be yourself. For people with a strong persona, and this includes many introverted, sensitive, and observant individuals, a visit can be incredibly draining. Suddenly, you feel pressured to perform. You choose your words carefully. You monitor your facial expressions. You keep track of how long the conversation has lasted. At the same time, your mind is distracted by little details, the dishes in the sink, the lights being too bright or too dim, whether you seem polite enough. All of this consumes psychic energy, and it takes a lot. Jung once said, the persona is necessary. It helps us function in society. But when we mistake the persona for our true self, the soul begins to cry out. And perhaps that is why you feel such resistance to visits. It's not that you dislike people. It's the exhaustion that comes from maintaining a social image when, deep down, all you want is peace to sit barefoot in silence, gazing out the window without pretending. What makes this even harder is that many people spend years trapped in their persona. Even at home, they welcome guests, smile, and make an effort, yet inside they feel drained, irritated, and empty. But here's a liberating truth from depth psychology. You have the right to be completely yourself in your own space. You are allowed to say no to visits. You are allowed to decline invitations. You are allowed to be unavailable. Because every time you force yourself to please others, you quietly abandon yourself, and you cannot keep doing that without consequences. There are moments when you simply want to be alone. Not out of sadness or drama, but because your soul is calling for silence. In those moments, many people feel strange or guilty, as if they're being antisocial. After all, we live in a culture that praises those who are always surrounded by people loud, active, constantly present. But Carl Jung saw it differently. For him, the urge to withdraw was often the beginning of one of life's most important journeys, the path of individuation. Individuation means becoming who you were born to be. Not what society expects, not what your parents projected onto you. Not the persona you've learned to wear, but your true self. Your light and shadow, your conscious and unconscious. Your essence and your truth. And this process doesn't unfold in noise. It unfolds in silence. It unfolds in retreat. It unfolds in stillness. That is why your discomfort with visitors is not laziness or instability. It is your soul protecting you, keeping distractions at a distance, so you can hear the quiet voice within. Because there is something inside you that wants to rise to the surface. And for that, you need time alone. Jung said it clearly. Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to express what truly matters to you. And what could matter more than listening to yourself? But how can that happen in the middle of noise, with a guest who won't leave, in conversations that never touch the soul? The truth is, some phases of life require conscious isolation. Not as an escape, but as a form of immersion. You don't withdraw to disappear. You withdraw so that you can return clearer, stronger, more fully yourself. While the outside world demands your attention with its parties, obligations, and endless noise, your inner world quietly asks for something else. Stay a little longer in silence. Don't open the door just yet. Take care of yourself first. And maybe, as you've been listening, you've already felt it, that quiet wave of relief. That deep calm when someone finally gives words to what you've always felt, but never could explain. Because yes, it's true. This discomfort with visitors, this unease you once thought was a flaw, is actually the reflection of something much deeper. If Carl Jung were sitting beside you now with his calm, steady gaze, he might say, "You are not wrong for wanting to be alone. You are simply listening to the voice of your soul." And that is rare. So let's look at 6 profound truths from Jungian psychology about people who prefer solitude, especially in their own homes. First, you are probably more sensitive to the energy of spaces than you realize. Jung said, "The unconscious perceives what the conscious mind misses." And some people are highly attuned to the emotional field of others. The tone of a voice, the way someone looks at you, the silence between words, the unspoken tension, it all affects you. When someone enters your home, they bring more than their physical body. They bring their energy, their unresolved emotions, their stories. And you feel all of it as heaviness, as restlessness, as exhaustion. Second, your psyche needs space. Jung saw introversion as a natural necessity, a way of bringing order to the soul. Time alone in silence allows your mind to realign. But even a single visit can disrupt that fragile balance. What others call laziness is, in truth, your system gasping for air. Third, constant social interaction distances you from yourself. Jung believed the true self emerges only in stillness. When you spend too much time in small talk, constant friendliness, or endless presence, you drift away from your core. It's not that you dislike people, it's that being with others often requires you to set your authentic self aside. Fourth, the presence of another person can awaken your shadow. The shadow holds everything you've suppressed: memories, wounds, traits you couldn't accept. And sometimes, one casual remark from a guest can bring that discomfort bubbling up. The irritation isn't about them, it's about what they stir within you, a part of your psyche that has not yet been integrated. Fifth, this impulse to withdraw may actually be the beginning of something sacred: your individuation process. Jung taught that individuation is becoming who you truly are. And that path begins the moment you stop trying to please the world and start listening to yourself. When you recognize your need for silence and solitude, not to escape life, but to live it more deeply and honestly, you take the first step toward becoming whole. And finally, the sixth truth. You are learning to listen to yourself. You are beginning to say no without guilt, to close the door without shame, to respect your boundaries without labeling yourself as rude. Because every time you force a smile you don't feel, every time you give when your energy is already empty, you abandon yourself just to fit into someone else's world. And you've realized you cannot live like that anymore. It is time to honor your soul. Picture an old man with a long white beard, holding a lantern, walking alone down a quiet path at night. This is the classic image of the hermit, an ancient figure with deep meaning in Jungian psychology. Jung said, "The hermit is an archetype, a primordial image, a universal energy that lives in each of us, even if we don't always recognize or embody it." But what does this have to do with you, your desire to avoid visitors and stay home in silence? Quite a lot. The hermit represents the inner call for withdrawal, for wisdom, and for self-knowledge. It's the impulse that makes you close the door, silence your phone, and step away from the noise. Not to escape, but to finally hear what is happening inside you. The hermit lives in silence because he knows the brightest light shines only in stillness. This archetype is not about loneliness or unhealthy isolation. It is about the courage to turn inward, to face your shadows, your doubts, and your fears, and in doing so, discover your own light. No one else can give you this light. Only you can find it. And for that, the hermit needs a sacred space. Often, that space is your home, your personal retreat. If you feel a strong pull to decline visitors and remain in quiet, it may be your inner hermit calling. He asks you to slow down. He asks you not to lose yourself in the noise of the outer world, but to reconnect with your true being. Jung believed answering this call is essential for mental and emotional health. And following the hermit's path is also an act of resistance. It resists the frantic pace of modern life. It resists shallow relationships. It resists the constant pressure to always be available. At its heart, it is an act of self-love and soul care. So the next time someone wonders why you don't want company, or why you prefer to be alone, remember the hermit within you. He stands with his lantern, reminding you that true light is found only after you've faced your own darkness. And it is completely okay to need silence in order to find yourself again. Have you noticed how powerful solitude becomes once you embrace it? It's not just about being alone. It's about what you discover in that aloneness. For Jung, the hermit was never a sad figure or a social failure. He is the guardian of inner wisdom. When you follow his call, solitude transforms into a journey of growth. In that space, you uncover answers drowned out by the noise of the world. You allow yourself to think, to feel, to reflect without hurry. And your soul begins to heal. You start to notice patterns. You integrate your shadows. You rediscover parts of yourself long hidden. And more than that, you begin to build a quiet strength and an inner confidence that no longer depend on outside approval. For many, this path feels difficult because the world celebrates constant activity, networking, and noise. But the hermit reminds us, to truly show up for the world, you must first show up for yourself. That is the wisdom of solitude. So if you decline a visit or choose to stay home, you are not closing yourself off. You are preparing inwardly to meet others later in a more authentic and meaningful way. The hermit invites you into this deep transformation. And if you feel that inner call, trust that you are on the right path. Now that you've met the hermit within, one important question arises. How do you balance solitude and connection? Jung taught that a healthy life doesn't mean rejecting society or isolating completely. It means creating a conscious dialogue between the two. The hermit calls for silence, withdrawal, introspection. The outer world calls for engagement, activity, participation. The art of living lies in balance. It lies in respecting your boundaries without shutting yourself away. It lies in not forcing social interaction when you are not ready. It is a daily practice of listening inwardly and communicating outwardly with clarity. You can protect your quiet time through simple rituals, reading, walking alone, or starting the day with a routine just for you. And you can also choose intentional moments to connect with people who truly nourish you and respect your space. This balance takes practice, but it is freeing. And most importantly, you don't need to justify it. You owe no explanations to anyone but yourself. Society may not always understand, but your soul knows what it needs. Jung said, individuation means becoming true to yourself, even when the world demands otherwise. So give yourself this permission, honor the hermit within you, and also nurture genuine connections that uplift your soul rather than drain it. Then solitude is no longer a burden. It becomes a sacred space for renewal. Of course, holding this balance isn't always easy. The world is noisy, full of expectations, and even your own inner voice may sometimes judge you for wanting to be alone. But respecting your boundaries is not selfishness. It is an act of self-love and care. First, learn to recognize your signals. Is your body tired? Is your mind scattered? Is your mood unsettled? These are signs your system needs a pause. When you notice them, slow down, even if it means canceling plans, even if it means turning off your phone. Second, communicate simply. You don't need long explanations. A gentle, "I'm staying home today, I need time for myself," is enough. The people who love you will understand. And those who don't, that says more about them than it does about you. Third, create a sacred space. It could be a cozy corner in your home, a bench in the park, or a morning ritual that belongs only to you. There, your inner hermit feels safe. And finally, be gentle with yourself. Don't expect to always be present, productive, or socially available. You are allowed to simply be. Honoring your longing for solitude means honoring your soul. And this is the path to wholeness, just as Jung taught. Perhaps now, at the end of this journey, you feel something has been touched within you, something deep and true. That is the beauty of Jung's work, the uniqueness of every soul. There is no single right way to be. There is only your way. And if your way includes silence, solitude, or declining visitors, that does not make you strange or unlovable. Jung reminds us that individuation, the process of becoming whole, means embracing every part of yourself, even the one society doesn't value. So when you honor your need for retreat, you are honoring your soul. You don't need to fit into outside molds to be happy. Your home, your silence, your solitude. These are sacred spaces where your soul renews and grows. And in that intimate space, you will find the strength to meet the world again with authenticity and peace. If you take only one insight today, let it be this: your way of being in the world is valid. Your love of silence is a true expression of your soul, and it deserves respect, especially from yourself. We've reached the end of this journey together. But in truth, your journey is only beginning. We've explored Jung's 6 insights, we've met the archetype of the hermit, and we've discovered how solitude can hold profound wisdom. Now I invite you to turn inward with gentleness. Recognize that your desire for solitude is not weakness. It is a reflection of inner connection. Understand that your boundaries are not selfish walls. They are acts of care and protection. And know this: in the silence of your own space, you hold the power to bloom each day, becoming more and more your true self.